It's 5:13 in the evening, November 4th, 2025, and a UPS employee on the ramp at Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport glances up out of habit. He's heard 1,000 MD-11 takeoffs in his years working here. This one sounds different. A heavy thump cuts through the engine roar. He looks toward runway 17R just in time to see something separate from the left wing of a climbing freighter. A fireball tumbling end over end above the fuselage. For a second, nobody around him moves. Then the radios start screaming. UPS Flight 2976 was a scheduled domestic cargo flight operated under Part 121 cargo rules, departing Louisville's Worldport hub bound for Daniel K. Inouye International Airport in Honolulu, Hawaii. The aircraft was a McDonnell Douglas MD-11F, registration N259UP, a 34-year-old freighter built in 1991. On the flight deck were 3 UPS pilots, Captain Richard Wartenberg, First Officer Lee Truitt, and International Relief Officer Captain Dana Diamond. Diamond, 62, had logged roughly 15,250 total flight hours, a veteran crew on a route they'd flown many times before. The takeoff was set to depart from runway 17R. Nothing about the day suggested anything was wrong. At 17:12:30, the takeoff roll begins, routine by the book, NTSB. At 17:13, 02.7, rotate. The nose comes up, the jet starts to fly. Just 7 seconds later, at 17:13, 09.5, a low-frequency thump is heard on the cockpit voice recorder. The crew reacts with audible surprise. They have no idea yet what's happened, but their airplane has just lost an engine. A surveillance video captured what the pilots couldn't see. The left, number 1 engine and its entire pylon, the structural arm that bolts the engine to the wing, had separated from the aircraft. A fire ignited on the engine as it flew up and over the top of the fuselage, and a separate fire took hold near where the pylon had been bolted to the wing. A fire that would burn continuously until the aircraft hit the ground. The MD-11 never climbed higher than about 30 feet above the runway. With one engine gone and debris likely affecting the tail-mounted engine, the jet, fully loaded with fuel for a trans-Pacific crossing, simply didn't have the power or control authority to climb away. It barely cleared the blast fence at the end of the runway. Its left main landing gear then struck the roof of a UPS Supply Chain Solutions warehouse at the airport's edge. Seconds later, the crippled aircraft struck structures at a nearby petroleum recycling facility, shearing off more of the airframe before rolling and going down in an industrial area near the airport. The Friendly Skies 4. The crash. The aircraft crashed into several buildings, including the petroleum recycling facility, triggering another explosion on top of the initial fire. With tens of thousands of pounds of jet fuel aboard for the long Honolulu run, the resulting fireball was immense, visible for miles across Louisville. All 3 crew members aboard the aircraft were killed instantly. On the ground, 11 people were fatally injured and 23 others were hurt. Among the dead, a child. A 12th ground victim, Christina Kalina, succumbed to her injuries weeks later on December 25th, bringing the final toll to 15 lives lost. Louisville's mayor would later describe the scene as something the city hadn't witnessed in decades. The NTSB arrived at Louisville the very next day, November 5th, beginning the painstaking process of documenting the wreckage and recovering the perishable evidence, the data that degrades or disappears fastest after a crash. They brought in the FAA, UPS, Boeing, the Independent Pilots Association, GE Aerospace, and the Teamsters Airline Division as official parties to the investigation. Investigators didn't have to guess where to look first. Airport surveillance cameras had captured the entire failure sequence in frame-by-frame detail. The engine and pylon peeling away, the fire, the impossible climb. At the wreckage site, they recovered a critical piece of the puzzle, a broken metal lug from the pylon's mounting structure. To understand what failed, you need to understand how a jet engine actually hangs off a wing. It isn't bolted on directly, it's attached through a structure called a pylon, and the pylon itself connects to the wing through a mount containing something called a spherical bearing, essentially a ball and socket joint held in place inside structural brackets called lugs. The failure came from a small but critical part inside the engine's mounting structure. The MD-11's engine wasn't attached directly to the wing. It hung from a pylon connected through a spherical bearing. Investigators found that this bearing had developed a fatigue crack over time. Eventually, it split apart. The loads it was designed to carry suddenly shifted onto surrounding structures that weren't built to handle that stress. Within seconds, those structures fractured, and during rotation, the entire left engine separated from the wing. It's a classic example of a single hidden failure causing a catastrophic chain reaction. One small component broke, and an entire engine was lost. But that wasn't the end of the problem. The MD-11 was heavily loaded with fuel for its long flight to Hawaii. Losing the left engine meant losing a third of its thrust at the worst possible moment, just seconds after takeoff. Investigators believe the separation may also have affected the aircraft's handling, leaving the crew with almost no chance to recover. The jet never gained significant altitude before crashing. What makes this story even more troubling is that this wasn't the first warning. Investigators discovered that the same type of bearing had failed on multiple aircraft before. In fact, Boeing had warned MD-11 and DC-10 operators about the issue back in 2011, 14 years before this crash. After the accident, UPS and FedEx grounded their MD-11 fleets, and inspections revealed similar bearing issues on other aircraft. The discovery raised a difficult question. If the warning signs had existed for years, could this tragedy have been prevented?